This is AZ Audibles. Haley Stasiak, Eric Sorensen, and Jordan Ham here. It is state title week officially. We had a couple state champions last week. In 2A, we've got Thatcher. They topped Round Valley for their third straight state title. And then Northwest Christian topped Yuma Catholic. It seems like Northwest Christian is constantly in the playoffs, and they finally made that state title run and got the championship. So congratulations to the Eagles and the Crusaders, your 2A and 3A state champions. Let's take a look here at these title games this week. We've got 4A, 5A, and 6A. Taking a look here first at 4A and 5A. In 4A, we've got South Point and Saguaro. Saguaro going for that sixth straight. What does South Point have to do to top Saguaro here?
Well, they're two very familiar teams with each other. They played last year in the state title. They played in the state semis the previous year, so they know each other really well. And talking to Jason Mons, it was, we know what's going to happen with them. They know what's going to happen with us. It's just kind of who can execute better. And on South Point's side, everything goes through Bijan Robinson. This is a guy, back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. He's just an absolute monster. Only a junior in this postseason. He has 563 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns in three games. Over 21 yards per carry.
And he's only a junior.
He's a junior. 21 yards per carry. The thing is, he's also really fresh because he hasn't had more than 10 carries since September 14th against Cactus.
Wow.
So he's hit the 10 carry mark twice in that span, but if they really want to get him going and give him a lot of carries, I think he's plenty fresh to do that. The difference is he's going to need to score. Last year, he got his against Saguaro. He got 163 yards. He broke a couple long runs, but he got tackled before the end zone, and Saguaro was able to just stand up in the red zone and make sure that they didn't get in the end zone. They win 28-7. I think if he got in the end zone a couple of times, that's a very different game. So it's really simple, but getting Bijan Robinson in the end zone, I think, is going to be a huge key for South Point to get going and try to unseat Saguaro.
Let's take a look at 5A. We've got Notre Dame Prep and Centennial. Notre Dame Prep trying to top Centennial here and DC them.
The Coyotes are just so loaded and so balanced. Obviously, their bread and butter is defense. But against Higley, guys, you would not believe what they did. They returned a kickoff for a touchdown. They had a fake punt for a touchdown. They blocked a field goal before halftime. They did not turn the ball over, and they downed a punt inside the 5, all in one game. Flip it over to Notre Dame Prep. They're going to have to play almost a perfect game offensively. Jake Farrell, their quarterback, is going to have to go through his reads quickly and get rid of the ball. That'll be one way to sort of neutralize that Coyote pass rush. And the X factor is Jake Smith, we all know. With 2 weeks to prepare, it'll be interesting to see how they are going to get him the ball. And talking to George Prelock, they're going to sort of change the way they prepared. And again, with the extra week, what sort of wrinkles is NDP going to put in their game plan?
Last week at Media Day, I was talking to Centennial's JL Stark. We were talking a little bit about this run game that they have. Last year, it was specifically Zidane Thomas that people were looking out for. And this year, they've got a few more guys that they're going to. And that's really helped Centennial. And then you're looking at this defense, too. Unbelievable for Centennial. This is another rematch. We're seeing three rematches here in 4A, 5A, and 6A. So these teams, like you mentioned with Saguaro and South Point, they are very familiar with each other. So they kind of know. We may see some kind of change-ups in the way these guys are running their games.
And I think a big key for the Notre Dame offense, even if they don't score, they need to sustain a couple long drives to make sure the defense can get some rest. That's where Centennial is so dangerous, because they get these quick 3-and-outs, and then the offense, the way that they run the ball and just kind of beat you up throughout the game, they can really take over the game in the last quarter and a half, or second half. And so if Notre Dame's able to have some of those strong, long drives just to get the defense a rest, keep them fresh, that's going to be huge to help them stay in the game and be in striking distance and try to unseat Centennial.
And it should be noted, Jonathan Morris, the junior quarterback for Centennial, gives them a different dynamic than Ruben Beltran did last year. He's a really efficient passer, and so they have that balance when it's not Jaden Young or Tywee Walker. They also have the ability to throw the ball downfield as well.
Coming up later in the show, we're going to take a deeper look at this 6A state title rematch between Perry and Chandler. Welcome back into AZ Audibles. We are now going to take a deeper look at the 6A state title game between Perry and Chandler. Earlier in the show, we talked about 4A and 5A matchups. Going deep here in the king of all these divisions, Chandler and Perry, this is going to be a really good one. Something to look at here, first off, is this Chandler team almost lost in the semis to a really good Highland team. We're able to pull it out in overtime. something that I noticed in that game, that was the one that I was at for the semis, was the Chandler defense just didn't come out fast and strong like we had seen them doing all season, and Highland was able to take advantage of that. So in this game, I'm watching for Perry offense to come out fast and strong and try to top Chandler's defense here. Perry's got a lot of playmakers. They can get it done on defense as well. So this is going to be an interesting one. Part of me thinks that maybe Perry can kind of end the dynasty for Chandler here.
And this is one of those things where just a couple of years ago, Chandler was ending the dynasty of Hamilton. And then all of a sudden it's been all Chandler in that area, in that state. And they've been so good. And a Chandler win would mean 3 straight for Jacob Conover. And the legacy that he leaves, that's incredible. I think that he is certainly appreciated, but also way underrated. Because you talk, when you talk about the quarterbacks here in the state, you talk about Spencer Rattler first, usually Jack Miller. Conover, yes, he has a ton of athletes around him, but this guy doesn't make mistakes. He wins the huge games, and he could walk away with 3 straight state titles. And how many times can you say that for a quarterback in the big schools, in the 5As and the 6As? I mean, he's just accomplished so much as a Chandler Wolf.
Well, and in that semifinal game, he was a big part of the reason they were able to pull it out, because he was able to get it done through the air and on the ground.
Last year was a shootout in this game between Perry and Chandler, and I don't expect any different this weekend. These two teams can put up a lot of points. It was the Brock Purdy show. Now it's Chubba's turn to sort of lead the Pumas. And one thing we know about Perry and Preston Jones, they always play with a chip on their shoulder because they're one of the other schools in the Chandler School District, and they really want to take that next step. And it would be even sweeter to win that state championship against a team like Chandler.
We had Chubba Purdy on the preview show a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how he does feel like Perry is underrated. And then last week at Media Day, I was talking to Colby Dickey, and I asked him kind of about the difference between Brock and Chubba's style of play, and he was like, the difference for him specifically was that he was close with close with Brock on and off the field, and it took him a little bit of time early here in the season to get used to Chubba and to build that trust.
I think also a big factor from last year, Deshane James tore up Chandler in that state championship game. Obviously, he's been injured all year. He won't be in that game. But you also saw Colby Dickey have a really good game against them. You also saw Kyle Patterson have a really good game, the big tight end who is a matchup issue. So those are 2 guys I would look at. And then also their run game is much more prominent this year than last year. I think they're going to go to that trio of running backs plus Chubba Purdy quite a bit in this state championship game.
6A, 4A, and 5A state title games this weekend. Will we see someone be dethroned? Keep it right here on Sports360az.com for all your high school football coverage.